She was 9 years old. Then a cop cuffed her for riding her scooter. 6 minutes later, everything changed. Some stories start with a warning, some with a whisper. But this one, it began with a scooter, a child's laughter, and a decision that would expose everything. The morning light poured gently through the window blinds of the Alexander household. The scent of fresh coffee mingled with the soft humming of a cartoon playing on the television. Captain David Alexander, a decorated police officer with over 20 years of service, sat at his kitchen table wearing a gray hoodie and navy sweatpants, reviewing an agenda on his laptop. He was off patrol that day but on duty remotely, attending a department-wide leadership training via video conference. Across from him sat Zoe, his 9-year-old daughter. Small, bright-eyed, and full of boundless energy. Her pink helmet rested beside her bowl of cereal, and her scooter leaned against the wall by the door. Zoe asked if she could ride her scooter for a bit before school. David agreed, but only in front of the house, and only with her helmet on. She promised, slid off her chair, grabbed her helmet, and zipped outside with a squeal of delight. David returned to his laptop, but one ear remained tuned to the outside. Even in a quiet neighborhood, he never stopped being a cop, or a father. He watched Zoe from the window, spinning and gliding with carefree joy. A normal morning. Until it wasn't. A standard black and white cruiser rolled down the road. Inside were two officers. Officer Karen Holt, white, 44, with short blonde hair and a perpetually tight jaw, and rookie officer Edwin Cruz, Latino, 31, recently out of field training. Holt had a reputation for being no-nonsense, but also carried a history of complaints that never quite stuck. Karen drove slowly, scanning the neighborhood. She prided herself on being proactive. When she noticed Zoe riding her scooter, she slowed the vehicle. Karen questioned whether Zoe belonged in the neighborhood. Edwin pointed out that she looked like she lived there. Karen dismissed the thought, insisting she knew every resident on the block and Zoe wasn't one of them. When Edwin hesitated and implied her suspicion was racially motivated, she deflected with a reference to property thefts. Karen pulled the cruiser to the curb. Zoe twirled on her scooter, humming to herself. When the police car stopped, she slowed down and waved shyly, remembering her mother's lesson about being respectful to officers. Karen stepped out, sunglasses on, hand near her belt. Edwin followed, more cautiously. Karen questioned Zoe's presence and ownership of the scooter. Zoe explained that she lived there and her father got it for her. When Karen asked where her father was, Zoe said he was working inside. Karen stepped closer. Zoe stepped back. Her instincts signaled danger. Karen ordered her to turn around. Zoe asked if she was in trouble and insisted she hadn't done anything. Karen told her not to make it difficult, then grabbed her wrist. Zoe screamed for her father. Edwin objected, shocked. Karen dismissed him, claiming Zoe was resisting and told him to get the cuffs. Zoe sobbed as Karen cuffed her small wrists. David stood so fast his chair toppled over. He recognized the scream. Raw, terrified. He bolted outside. There she was. His daughter. In cuffs. David erupted in anger. Karen told him to step back, claiming Zoe had been uncooperative and possibly trespassing. David shouted that Zoe was his daughter and they lived there. Zoe, sobbing, told her father she didn't do anything. David uncuffed her swiftly. Karen stepped back. Edwin, regretful, told David he hadn't expected Karen to actually cuff the child. David asked if they even checked the address, reminding them his face was displayed at the precinct. Karen claimed she was responding to a concern. David told her she was responding to Zoe's skin. He held Zoe tightly, her small hands trembling. David looked at Edwin and blamed him too, for doing nothing. Edwin admitted he froze. David warned him never to freeze again, or turn in his badge. David brought Zoe inside, wrapped her in a blanket, called his wife, then internal affairs. When he returned outside, his rage had crystallized into purpose. He demanded Karen's badge number. She accused him of overreacting. He told her she was unfit. Edwin promised to give a full statement and admit what happened. David made it clear, this wasn't going away quietly. By noon, Karen Holt was suspended pending investigation. The body cam footage went public. Social media exploded. The story made national news within 48 hours, 9-year-old cuffed outside her own home. Protests erupted. City officials scrambled to respond. David addressed the city 3 days later, standing at a podium with Zoe beside him. He declared that Zoe was his daughter, a citizen, and a child who did nothing wrong, but was treated like a suspect because of her skin. He warned the city, if it could happen to her, it could happen to anyone's child. The crowd erupted in applause. Zoe didn't touch her scooter for weeks. Then one quiet Saturday, she asked her father if she could ride again. She asked if the officers would come back. David promised if they did, they'd meet him first. He held her hand as they stepped outside. Zoe strapped on her helmet, took a breath, and kicked off. David watched her glide down the sidewalk, a warrior on wheels. And this time, no one stopped her. 6 minutes. That's all it took. For a trusted officer to show her true colors. For a rookie to learn the cost of silence. For a child to lose her innocence. But it was also enough time for a father to fight back. For a city to pay attention. For justice to get one small step closer. Because racism doesn't always wear a hood. Sometimes it wears a badge. But courage. It looks like a little girl who dares to ride again. This story was inspired by true events. Racial profiling of children continues to plague communities around the world. We raise our children to be kind, respectful, and brave. But they deserve more than lessons. They deserve protection. They deserve justice. And when we fight for them, we change the world.